Today we have another group of community-made mercenary tanks to showcase. But there's something special about today's episode. That is, that this will be the last episode utilizing of this garage. As with the new season coming on Tuesday, we will have our old hangar garage return. So let's say goodbye to this outside garage with its final group of community-made mercenary tanks. First up is a Tier 5 heavy tank named the Bulltoad. This design was taken from Newbie in the Discord. It combines the chassis of the KV-1 with the turret of the T1 Heavy and the 7555cm gun on the VK3001H. I really liked the idea of this tank and how it came together. My favorite part is that this tank seemingly would have multiple weapon systems too, meaning it has two guns, a 75mm and a 37mm. It is entirely possible though that they do not give this tank the ability to shoot that gun, but I think it should. Multiple weapon systems in low tiers are actually quite strong and useful. It honestly turned the M3 Lee into a pretty strong tank. I'm not sure if it made a difference with the T1 Heavy, but I am confident that it provides utility that would be useful in this tank as well. I did a bit of color matching on this one. Bulltoads are more on the brown side, so I matched the color of the American tank to the other tank parts. And I gotta say, I'm digging it. This actually feels like a tank that Wargaming could make for the mercenaries. Of course, they could spice things up with extra bits here and there, but overall, I think this looks like it fits into the mercenary aesthetic pretty well. Next, we have a Tier 8 light tank made by Leafeon in our Discord. They named this one Nemo. This takes the chassis of the Panzerjäger, the turret of the M41 Bulldog, and the gun of the TANK. I'm not gonna lie, I chose to showcase this tank because I thought it looked cool, and I'm a sucker for the chaffee, what can I say? But clearly this thing would play almost identically to the tank it takes its gun from. And we already have two versions of that tank to begin with too, with the turtle. So if this were to be made, we definitely have to choose either another gun or spice things up some other way. Otherwise, you basically know how this tank goes if you know the tank or the turtle. Which, in my opinion, those tanks are some low-key meta tanks with how accurate they can be with their derp guns, either on the move or even sniping. I'm always worried about those tanks when I see them, because in good hands, they can punish people reliably. Oh, and here's a mock-up for a skin of it that Scray made in the Discord. It even has a little fish on it. Speaking of Scray, the last tank today is one made by them. The Narwhal takes the chassis of the Progetto 54, which definitely has an interesting shape to it, the turret of the VK101P, and the gun of the Emil 1. Yet another combination of heavies that I never would have thought to combine, and yet it somehow works. The turret and chassis are both long and slim for the most part, and actually complement each other quite well. Of course, the gun being long too is where I presume the name came from, and I think it's just perfect. A full-fledged idea here, with an interesting armor profile. I'm not so sure how this thing would perform just from looking at it, but I would hedge my bets that it wouldn't be OP, but the thing that scares me is the speed, and that turret. The turret would definitely weigh it down, and the Progetto only has a top speed of 45 to begin with, so somewhere in the 30s shouldn't be that bad with the whole armor that doesn't compare to the VK itself. But I would still be scared to go against this tank. With an autoloader and turret that has a strong cupola, it could definitely make for some scary stuff, if it's mobile. And that's the first episode of Community Mercenary Tanks for 2023. And also the last to use this outside garage. If you have any ideas yourself you want to see make it into one of these videos, leave them down below. Or join the Discord and leave them in the Community Ideas channel. I'll see you guys in a new garage in the next one. Take care.